Let's go. Let's go. Hi, Angel. Your hair is so long. I need your haircut. Hey everyone, this is Sean here, and Sony has just announced the ZV-1, which is their new compact camera. Now, if you look at this camera, it's looking very similar to their RX100 series, and I would say they're kind of similar, but at the same time, this is a new products line that Sony has created, which is more geared towards casual video content creation. So I had the amazing opportunity to play around with this camera for about 1 to 2 weeks while being at home, and I'll be giving you guys my overall thoughts, the good stuff, the new features, and some of the stuff that can be improved with this camera. So let's do this. And just to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Sony, but all of my thoughts and opinions are still going to be honest. So let's go. Alright, so the very first most standout feature, at least for me, would be the flip out screen. Not the flip up screen, the flip out screen. And you might think that, you know, what's the huge deal about the flip out screen? Isn't it almost the same? You can still look at yourself, but for me as a filmmaker and someone who, you know, do like selfie shots, if you really want to up your production game, you would mount an external microphone. And the problem with the flip up screen is that it's going to be blocked. The screen is going to be blocked by the external microphone, so it then defeats the purpose. You can't even make it work. So the flip out screen would definitely enable that. But for most people, if you're getting a compact camera like this, most probably you won't be getting an external microphone, right? So the main advantage of having a flip out screen on this camera is really to be able to shoot in all kinds of shooting situations. Whether if you're doing like a low angle portrait shot, you will be able to look at the screen, or if you're doing like a flat lay shot, you can easily look at the screen and see what you're shooting. So it covers almost any shooting situation, and you'll just be able to shoot in all kinds of angles and be able to look at the screen. And that, my friends, is huge. Okay, it is huge. Now this camera comes with the same lens that the RX100 Mark 5A has, which is the 24-70mm with the aperture of f1.8 to f2.8, and basically this will allow us to have a blurry background, which all of us love, and also you'll be able to shoot in lower light conditions, so that is definitely good. Of course, the compromise would be that it won't be able to have the zoom range that the RX100 Mark 7 has, but you know what, I'm not complaining. I think this zoom range is still pretty good for general shooting. So when creating video content, the audio quality is as important as the visuals itself. And with the ZV-1, Sony has kind of revamped the in-camera microphone to a 3-directional capsule mic in it, and I would say surprisingly it actually sounds pretty decent for an in-camera microphone. So I have here an audio comparison between the RX100 Mark 5A and the ZV-1, and you can hear it for yourself. Okay, so this is the audio coming directly from the Sony RX100 Mark 5. How does this sound compared to this? Okay, so this is the audio coming from the Sony ZV-1. How does this sound? Is it good? Is it solid? Alright, so just from hearing from those two clips, the RX100 Mark 5A sounds like it's flatter and just thinner, whereas the ZV-1 just has more depth towards the mid-tones. It sounds really decent and much more usable. Okay, one thing to note is that the ZV-1 comes with a free wind muff, which previous RX models do not provide. So this is amazing, and what this furry thing does is basically to cut out wind when you're in outdoor situations. So I'm gonna just simulate this and switch on my fan and test this out. Some wind blowing through the RX100 Mark 5A. How is it holding up? Okay, fan is switched on, quite a bit of wind rustling through the camera. How is this performing? Okay, so there's this new feature in this camera that I have not seen in other cameras. It's a first for me personally, and that is with a click of a button, the C1 button over here, you can toggle between having a background that's blurry with bokeh or a background that is clear, everything is in focus. And I think this is really great for beginners or newcomers who are not experienced with the technical terms like aperture, shutter speed, ISO. You don't have to think about that, and you can just decide to have a blur background or a background when in focus. And so the next cool function that this camera has is called the product showcase function. And again, with just one touch of a button on the C2 button, you will be able to toggle it on and off. And what this function does is basically to prioritize focus on objects. This is really great if you're just trying to show your shopping haul or whatnot. And from my testing, it is really fast, like it's instantaneous. And if you put an object in front of you, it's going to just focus on that object without any hesitation. And if you put that object off, it's going to smoothly transition the focus back to your face. So it is really good and very smooth. So the next new feature that I personally find super useful is the face priority exposure. What this does is basically the camera will prioritize the exposure on your face in different lighting situations. Now in backlit situations, usually most cameras struggle with that. They try to compensate for the backlight, and usually the face is very dull, very dark. And on the ZV-1, I found that the camera is able to just retain the skin tones, giving it a balanced exposure to the face, and it still looks good in backlit situations, which is pretty cool, and it's so useful, especially when you're trying to shoot yourself in different lighting situations, and that's pretty awesome. And yes, talking about skin tones, people generally say that Sony has like the greenish tint to their skin tones. Looking at the ZV-1 footage, it looks natural, my skin looks pink and healthy, and this was shot using the standard default profile. I did not do anything to the footage. Yeah, it's going to be good for people who don't want to go into things like color grading and complicated stuff like that. And yes, talking about skin, there's this function called the soft skin function in this camera, which basically what it does is to smoothen out your face and blur out, skin details and only maintain focus on the eyes and mouth. I think this is pretty cool technology, and it's probably for people who are more conscious about the details on their face, their pores or whatnot. Personally, I would not use it because the effect's just not for me. So if you want to use the soft skin effect, personally I would recommend you to go maximum at the lowest level. Anything higher than that really feels too unnatural. It looks really weird and mushy around the face. So I'll just recommend you to put on better makeup and concealer. The ZV-1 now has a dedicated video record button at the top of the camera, and it's a lot bigger than the previous cameras, and this is so much more convenient and faster to record, especially in selfie mode. And with previous cameras, I always have to try and figure out where the video record button is. It's also very small, so you have to try and find it, and with this it's a lot easier at the top. As with Sony's latest cameras, the ZV-1 has the real-time IF and real-time tracking feature, which is just autofocus magic, and really gone are the days where you worry about whether or not you're in focus, because it just tracks your face all the single time, and even your eyes. And of course, there's also the touch to track focus, which is pretty useful if you want to track focus on like objects and moving things like your doggo. It's gonna be reliable. So last but not least, this camera also has the same internal ND filter as the RX100 Mark V-A, and as a filmmaker who shoots a lot outside, having an internal ND filter is super useful. I don't need to get extra filters to screw onto the lens, it's so troublesome. And basically what an ND filter does is to cut out light to enable you to have smoother looking footage. In short, yeah. Alright, so with any product, there's always something to be improved on, and for the ZV-1, personally for me, the very first thing would be the touchscreen. Now we have an amazing touch to focus and touch to focus track feature on the camera, which is super reliable. But we still don't have a fully integrated touchscreen to access all of the menus and functions in the cameras, which I think would be really useful, very convenient. It would be great, so hopefully soon we can see that in future models of the camera. And secondly, personally for me, I would love to see a wider lens on this camera. Now 24mm, which is the widest you can go on this camera, will be sufficient for most people. It's going to be wide enough for most situations, but in selfie mode, which I tend to shoot a lot as well, having a wider perspective is definitely going to look better with less of my face and more of the background in frame, and I would say 20mm would be a sweet spot for that. Yes! In conclusion, I think the ZV-1 is a great new introduction to Sony's lineup of compact cameras. It's definitely exciting to know that Sony wants to move in more towards the video side of things, which to me is awesome. And yeah, this camera will be a great tool for video content creators or people who just want to create fun, personal, casual videos with all the new features that would help make the process a lot easier, especially for beginners, so that's a nice thing. Now, on a final note, for everyone out there who is interested to get this camera will be available in early June, and you can head over to the link in the description to find out more. And that's it for my overview of the Sony ZV-1. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if you did, do give this video a thumbs up, it really helps. Don't forget to subscribe and join in the ride for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next adventure. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying well, staying healthy, and staying sane. Take care. Peace. Come. Okay, come. And I just want to let you, and before that, I just want to